Hello everyone. Today I'd like to speak a little more about fear of abandonment and how does it affect us. In this case, how does it affect me? But in fact, I see a lot of women right now with fear of women and also men with fear of abandonment, and this is a situation most really common, but people deal with the fear of abandonment in different ways. This is how I dealt in how we affected my relationships in general. My father and my mother met each other in Ukraine, and they had a child. It was me. And my father went to his birth country, which is Congo, in Brazzaville, and my mother went to Portugal, and here I was raised, and I'm still here. And in Lisbon, and I really struggled with my relationships, especially romantic ones, because I was really afraid of being abandoned, because I had this pattern of abandonment from my father. And I started to become more aware, develop my spirituality. I had to go through the shadow work, and I'm still going through it. And this was something that I didn't want to look up closely, because it's really painful for me, especially because my father died, and I didn't have the chance to meet him, although I have sisters and brothers, and I'm really happy to know that. But in fact, I didn't have a male figure, a father, a dad, and it was really painful. When I was younger and I was growing up, we have the Father's Day, and all these activities that you have to do, some drawing to your father, or you have to do some gifts, to create some gift, and I was a kid, and I didn't have anyone to give that to, because I didn't feel my grandfather, because I lived with my grandfather, as a father figure. Because he was it seemed like he was there, but he was not there, if you know what I mean. He didn't have conversations like, and the only expression that he had was like commands, and because he wanted to watch television, that's what I remember. And good day, good morning, good night. It didn't express a lot. It was a really superficial, I think, relationship with my grandfather. And I understand this because he was controlled by my grandmother, which is a witch, a bad witch, really, really evil one, and it was controlled by her. So the most expression that he had in the covers, the deepest, not the deepest, but he would talk a lot with my grandmother, but with me, or he didn't talk a lot. So I think in some way he didn't really accept me because I was an unexpected child, but my mother had a relationship with my father, but it wasn't a long-term one, and I just popped there when she was away from home, and my grandmother cursed her and cursed myself also, and it was so all my life I just felt a prisoner of my family, and that made sense now. In fact, that spiritual influence also influenced my the abandonment of my father, but it was all meant to be. I understand this now, but in fact the wounds are still here, so I have to really go deep and set free from those wounds. But in my relationships was really difficult for me to have a commitment. In fact, I didn't have a long-term commitment yet, because I could date or have casual relationships, but I was attracting only toxic people, like really toxic people, or people that weren't valuing me, or people that were that I couldn't have a good conversation with, companionship, and or they simply rejected me. I was having like platonic lovers, and I fell in love for completely strangers, so I could be safe. I couldn't have developed any attachment, and I was aware of this about 3-4 months ago, and I'm doing some healing frequencies, and subliminals also to reprogram my subconscious mind about this situation, and I went also through therapy and family constellations, and it was really I freed a lot of things until now, but there was, when you are doing a shadow work, it really is, you have layers and layers and layers of healing, and you go to the superficial layers, and then you go deep and deep and deep until you finally see the origin of everything. In fact, this situation was really deep down hidden, like I was trying to figure it out, because I had this karmic situation where I was really in love with that person. I was really, really in love years ago, and I was rejected by him, and that was a trigger that made me look inside myself and realize what I was creating to attract that rejection. Every time I fell in love, I was rejected. And I expressed my feelings. I was rejected. What is going on? Something is not right with me. I have to figure it out. So I went through this process, and then I went without any partner for like 8 years. Yes, it was a long time. And then I had this, so I had to fix it. And after 8 years of being solo with nobody else, and I am a person that has some physical needs, if you know what I mean. And 8 years for me without anyone, it's a lot of time to handle. Even though I know how to make company, with myself, but I needed some interaction with someone. And that opportunity showed, and I had an affair with a very handsome guy, but he was totally toxic. And every time I was having, a night of pleasure with him, I would feel really drained. My energy I would be the next day like sleepy, like I didn't have any. It really was an energetic vampire, and it drained all my good positive energy. So, and I knew, in fact, I started to notice that it was really cold. Like, he was really honest, and he said he didn't want anything serious with me, and I accepted. But in fact, I started to cause feelings for him, and then I realized he was also getting feelings, but he was too. He didn't want it. He didn't want it to make the effort. He didn't want to make the sacrifices needed for us to have a relationship. So, and it really hurt me, like with some actions. Like we lived in the same house. He was my colleague of rooms. And I lived in the room, was side by side, our rooms. And I remember I spent the Christmas with him, like holding him in the sofa, with nurturing and just being really sweet around me. And then it started to get cold, really cold, and I spent the New Year's Eve. It was in the pandemic time, and I spent the New Year's Eve all by myself. And it was like on the other bedroom, like having talking with his friends, because he wasn't in a party or he was there. He was really there, but he didn't want to spend the New Year's Eve with me, and he was talking like by the phone with his friends that were in the country where he came from. So it was really hurtful, that situation. So I made a compromise with myself that night, that I didn't want to attract more toxic partners. I didn't want to attract more toxic partners. And I asked universe, what can I do to release any blockages, any patterns, any situation inside of me that is causing this? And then I had to I still was with him like 4 times maybe, until the point where I left the house. 1 month later, I just left, and I changed the house because I felt if I continued to stay there, it would be really toxic for me, because I was too vulnerable, and I could not establish healthy boundaries if I would stay there. So I chose to leave. And the last time we went together, I'm really I like to cuddle, I like to kiss, I like to hug, especially when I get feelings for the person, and then he told me one thing that really hurt me, really hurt me, like when you hug and kiss beyond measure, like that my kisses and my hugs were excessive, and the excess means garbage. And I was like, what? I was so hurtful, so sad, so I was improving myself, like I really was improving myself. I was doing my best, I was really giving him my love, but if he didn't want me to receive hugs or kisses, okay, I would. But that was who I am, and that's how I express my love. So I thought, okay, if he isn't receptive to this, I must leave, because I don't want to be treated like this. I don't want to be treated like this. I deserve better. So I went away that night, and I told him to. I didn't even say goodbye, because I just started feeling that sentence was so harsh on me, so I can't even explain this, because it was really painful. And I was like, I just felt disgusting in that moment. I really felt disgusting. And I said, okay, I'm leaving. And I had to leave. And I left for good. And in fact, that night, it was after I changed home. And when I went there, I just had this feeling that somehow that would be the last night I would have with him. That would be the last night ever that I would, the things would radically change. And they did. They did. I didn't know how it was going. I didn't know how this situation would happen. But in fact, I was trying to finish the connection, because I was feeling really drained. And it was like coming and going, coming and going. One day it was hot, one day it was cold, and I was like, what the fuck? I don't want this. I don't want this from you. I just don't want this anymore. And so I made a commitment with myself. I will self-improve myself. I will self-improve. I will raise my vibration. I will love myself. I will go deep inside me to achieve what it's not contributing for the creation of my best self, my best life. my best experience. And so I did a lot of work, internal work. I had the help I was doing some oral readings with a therapist, a therapist. And also I was doing the family constellations, and I really freed a lot of patterns, really toxic patterns. It wasn't really easy, because when you are facing your shadow, you are facing also some dark things, some really dark things. And while I was doing this, I also had this really great big attacks from my grandmother, and also from some toxic, really jealous ex-friends that I had to go be apart from a friend, because she was also a witch, and she was cursing me every time I was with her, and I felt this really heavy energy around, because she was really jealous and she was cursing me, and she was really fake, like, oh, I love you, are so pretty, whatever. And so I just went to the point zero again, with no friends, still am with no friends, and because I see beyond the masks, and I see when someone is using black magic. I see when someone is lying. I see when someone has a bad intention. So for me, it's really hard to trust someone that I know it can be harmful to me. But I know I am trying to regain confidence in life. Confidence also in there is somewhere, somehow, good people that can maybe somehow help me, because it's really hard to be doing everything by myself. But that's the path I choose. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but in fact when I compromised with myself, I was really committed to end anything that was in service my highest purpose, and so I did, and so I'm doing it. And these situations are bringing me clarity, and how my guides try to bring my clarity back to me by showing me what is causing these situations. I had this man sitting in the same, we have 5 seats, and he's seated just right in the middle, and received the information that he was going to be a father. And he was bursting, crying, really in despair, because he didn't want to be a father. He didn't want to have that child, because he felt so immature. He really felt that he wasn't going to be able to take care of a child, because he couldn't take care of himself. So that situation brought me a lot of consciousness and awareness, and now I'm having another awareness. Maybe I have inheriting that belief from my father. I always said to myself, and I always said that I only will have a child when I have the proper conditions, like mental health, emotional health, money, whatever, a proper job, because I didn't want to and I had to have a present figure father, because I don't want to have a child that went through the same things that I went through, and now I do. I can put myself in my father's position. He wasn't prepared, and I saw that in audio reading years ago, and they told me that my father didn't feel worthy, didn't feel good enough to take care of me. And in that situation that they showed me, like, this was your father's reaction, I understood that. So, and also that situation made me have the opportunity to have compassion for my father, and not having that anger, that hate about the abandonment issue. So I'm sharing this story because fear of abandonment can really affect our relationships. I didn't allow myself to have a relationship with someone, a long-term relationship, because of that fear, because I would break up with someone before I even get serious, when I was starting to caught feelings, or if I caught feelings, I would caught feelings for someone toxic, because I was attracting that kind of partners. And I realized that. I was like, oh my God, that's why. And I went to a lot of other readings, tarot readings, etc., and they also all told me the same. It is you that you are creating this. You are creating this this situation. You are creating this inability to have people coming into your life that really treat you as you deserve. And I was like, okay, how is that possible? This is how it's possible. And also, you can have fear of abandonment, and you stick in a relationship, like you enter in a relationship. And I saw this as a client that was in this situation, and she was really attached to the relationship. She didn't want to let it go, and she's really having a hard time to let it go. And every time she tries to have someone, she attached to the relationship so much, because she doesn't want to lose it. And there are totally different ways to have toxic behaviors because of unsolved fear of abandonment, but which is really possible to release those. One of the methods, it can be violet flame, and if you desire to identify what is really holding you back, where that fear of abandonment comes from, you can send me. I will put the link of my bio in my video below. you can click there, you can make an appointment or send me an email and we make an appointment, and I will help you to find what it is and how the best method for you to release that. So I hope this message can touch your heart and can help you also release whatever is holding you back from happiness, from better wealth, better health, a better life.